I put it in, I smack her ass. Pull out my Feezy, hit record, turn on the flash.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Brandy Boy back at it again with another Fallout 4 video. This one's gonna be another top 5 mod list, but this time we're gonna be doing submachine guns. So before we get started, what exactly is a submachine gun? Well, it's not too complicated. They're kinda like assault rifles, but smaller in some aspects. They are defined as select fire carbines that use detachable magazines and are chambered for pistol calibers, not traditional rifle cartridges. As you can see here, I'm using the vanilla submachine gun for Fallout 4, which is somewhat based off of the Thompson SMG, but it looks like a knockoff you would buy on Wish. What I mean is, it's just ugly, and I hate it. Anyway, here's 5 high quality alternatives that you can find on the Nexus. So at number 5, would you look at that, we've got a real Thompson. This one's titled as M1928A1 Thompson, Day of Infamy by Noniak, or Noniak? I don't know how you say it. Anyway, he's made a beautiful weapon mod here. And if we can go ahead and compare this to the vanilla SMG, you can see it is definitely doo-doo. When it comes to attachments, we've got a pretty good selection. We can change up the fire rate of the gun from slow and steady to super duper fast. There's also quite a bit of fine looking barrels to choose from. And when it comes to stocks, we've got a few options. We can also choose between 20 to 30 round stick mags or a 50 round drum. You can also decide between a compensator or a suppressor, and there's some different iron sights to use. Lastly, there's even some different ammo types to change up your gameplay. So yeah, that's certainly a huge improvement over the vanilla SMG. And if you really hate it that much, just like me, you can install a replacer mod by Raptor from the Nexus, which swaps out the goofy vanilla SMG for the real deal. So anyway, here's a little bit about the Thompson. It's an American-made submachine gun chambered for 45 ACP, and it was first created in 1918, just right before World War I ended, but it never really saw any service. So after the war, it basically ended up getting bought up by a bunch of mobsters during the Prohibition era, and it became extremely infamous because of that. It even gained a bunch of cool nicknames, such as the Chicago Typewriter. It became so feared, in fact, that this gun alone was one of the main reasons for the US government to pass the National Firearms Act of 1934 to enact stricter gun control. But after that, it saw a good amount of use by American soldiers during World War II. After that, though, it's not very common to see an original Tommy gun these days. Besides all that, this gun mod looks stunning, and this is what the vanilla SMG should have been. It's just way too much fun to use, and now I actually feel like a badass with a real gun, rather than that stupid looking toy. Anyway, this mod is overall very high quality, and I just had to put it in the top 5. Coming in at the number 4 spot, we've got the Vector. This one's titled as the Chris Vector and is uploaded by CHN Ghost Delta. Taking a look at the animations here, they are pretty dang smooth. For the attachments, we've got some options here. For the barrels here, we can choose between the short one the long one with the rail, or the meat tenderizer. For the stocks, we've got 3 options, but I prefer the standard one. For the magazines, we've either got the standard 25 rounder or a 75 round stick mag, which is quite goofy. Should have been a drum instead, but hey, it's kind of funny, so I like it. When it comes to sights, we've got a few to choose from. And we can also choose between a suppressor or a barrel shroud for the muzzle attachment. There's also an option to add on a laser. And if you're really fanboying over this mod, you can slap on a sticker of one of the modders that helped create it. But that's not all, we also got an option to change it from 45 ACP to 10mm. We've also got 3 color schemes to choose from, black, tan, or red. And lastly, there's 2 foregrips to switch between. So when it comes to the Vector, there's not much history behind it yet. It's still a relatively new weapon considering it was first produced in 2009 in the US. What I can say though, is that this weapon is certainly unconventional. I haven't seen any gun that looks anything like it, and that's probably why it's gained some popularity in video games. Anyway, this gun is usually chambered for 9mm or 45 ACP, but it's also capable of using 40 cal or 10mm, and it can shoot those bullets at 1200 rounds per minute, making this gun an absolute meat shredder. In game, of course, it certainly is. Basically, just spray into the head, and you're guaranteed to hit a few shots. That definitely makes the gun quite a blast to use, and its unique design is a marvel to admire. My favorite part, really, is how the gun sounds as it spews out 25 rounds in the blink of an eye. Almost like a handheld warthog. But pretty much everything about this weapon is just absolutely enjoyable. I always love using it. So other than that, I don't really have much left to say, other than this is definitely a top 5 SMG mod for Fallout 4. So at number 3, we've got the MP7. This one's called Heckler & Koch MP7 and it's added in by FX0X01. And the animations and the sounds on this one are definitely professional. There's not really that many attachments, but it's still a good amount. We can improve the barrel, which will extend the range and decrease the recoil. And we can either retract or extend the stock. The only thing we can do to the magazine is just make it reload quicker. When it comes to sights, we got a good amount, and ignore the glitched out ones, that's from another mod, so don't worry about that. We can also add on a flashlight or a laser to the rail. And then for the grip, we can just choose to fold it or not. And we can also choose between 3 muzzle brakes or 2 suppressors. You can also pick out a snazzy looking camo. I would say my favorite one's gonna be carbon. And lastly, we can change up the caliber. You can either stick with the HK 4.6, or you can change it to a 10mm, the 38 cal, or even a 45 ACP. But in my game here, I patched that to be 5mm instead. And one more thing I forgot to mention is that there's a variant called Desert Warrior, which spits straight fire. Something special about the MP7 is that it's also classified as a PDW, or Personal Defense Weapon, which is a subclass of submachine gun, and that's because of its caliber. The unique 4.6 by 30mm is kind of more like a rifle cartridge than that of a pistol, but it's still not considered big enough to be in the big boy class, so it's a hybrid of sorts. Basically, the reason why this gun was created was because all the SMGs available at the time were only using old pistol ammunition that was rather weak against soft body armor. Thus, the German manufacturer H&K made the 4.6 ammo and the MP7, which has a higher velocity and better armor penetration than other SMGs. If you play Warzone, you probably understand that well, because it shreds through 3 plates in about 2 nanoseconds. But back to Fallout 4 here. This thing certainly is a pleasure to use. The animations and textures are immaculate, and the added unique variant is a cool bonus. Overall, it's yet another amazing mod, and it's certainly one of the best out there. Coming in at second place, we've got the UMP. This one's titled as Heckler & Koch UMP, and it's also by FX0X01. These animations are quite slick, and they even change depending on what magazine you're using. And for the attachments, we've got a good amount to choose from. For the barrel, we can simply reduce the weight. And for the stock, we can either fold it up or just make one that reduces the recoil. And there's also a bunch of different cool sights to choose from. And ignore those glitched out ones, I'll fix that later. We can also choose between quite a few suppressors here. And you can either opt for a angled foregrip or a vertical one. And if you want, you can slap on a laser or a flashlight. And lastly, we've got some magazines and conversion kits. The default is a 25 rounder, which holds 45 ACP, but we can change it to be a 30 round mag with either 40 cal or 9mm. But of course, you're probably going to want to use the mod new calibers to actually have those ammo types in game. For me personally, I decided to patch it to use 9mm, but instead of 40 cal, I have it use 10mm. Either way, each magazine will make your weapon perform differently. So the UMP is definitely a pretty cool gun. It's another German H&K SMG, and this one was first produced in 1999. And since then, it's gained some popularity among law enforcement agencies in many countries, including the US. And it's a favorite among us gamers as well. This was definitely my go-to SMG in Modern Warfare 2, so I'm glad to see there's a high-quality mod for it for Fallout 4. Anyway, like I mentioned earlier, for the attachments, there's 3 different calibers you can use, the 9mm, 40 cal, or 45 ACP. I really like that because it makes the gun more modular, and you can change it up depending on what ammo you have, or if you just want to mix up the damage and the fire rate. So this is a very enjoyable weapon to shoot with. I love the slick reloads and the sounds are almost like ASMR. Overall, this mod is exceptional, and it's hard to make a mod better than this one. But there is one out there though. So in first place, the grand champion of them all, the best SMG of all time, and the best one in Fallout 4 when it comes to modding at least, the MP5. This one's titled as Heckler & Koch MP5 Complex, and it's by you-know-who. And I'm also using the Black Eye skin from Rainbow Six Siege, which is from another mod by Faceless Ez. So not only does this mod add in the regular MP5, but it also adds in the mini version, the MP5K. And of course, the animations on this one are top tier.
Diamond City Radio.
It's even got a unique melee animation which uses a knife instead of just bashing with the gun. And when it comes to attachments, we have got a lot to choose from. We can choose between 2 different looking receivers, and we got quite a selection of handguards here, all the way from wood to polymer, or even a more modern one with Picatinny rails on it. You can even make it an MP5 SD with the integral suppressor. And of course, we got a bunch of different stocks here as well. Again, we've got wood and polymer, but we can also have a folding stock or a retractable one. Or if you want to, you can just take it off entirely. And we can either use the curved 9mm magazine or straighten it out and use 10mm instead. By default, they will both be using 10mm, so I recommend using new calibers and patching it in. Anyway, for the sights, we've got a bunch of different options here. And sadly, there is no ACOG, but there is a cool looking spectroscope. And if you're not using the integral suppressor, you can just screw one on. And if you've got the handguard with the rails on it, you can add on either a vertical or angled foregrip, or even add on a flashlight or a laser. And when it comes to the MP5K, it's got its own unique handguards. So the MP5 is one of the most popular guns in the world. It was first developed during the 1960s by H&K, and it's been in service for many countries ever since, whether that be military or law enforcement. It's been all over the place, from Europe to the Middle East, Vietnam, Africa, and also the US. It gained a lot of popularity throughout the Cold War era, and it just never really faded. The soldiers like using it, and it's a favorite in Hollywood as well. It was supposed to be succeeded by the UMP, but the MP5 just can't be beat. Anyway, the MP5 is commonly chambered for 9mm, but it can also be converted to use 10mm or even 40 cal. Either way, it performs well, and it's a joy to handle. If you play Call of Duty, or if you're a Rainbow Six Doc main, then you probably love this gun just as much as me. I may be a bit biased here, but you can't deny that this mod is phenomenal. And of course, that Black Eye skin is the icing on the cake. In pretty much every game, this is a meta gun, and it's the same deal in Fallout 4. It just shreds straight through people, and it's a total headshot machine. And it looks mighty fine while doing it. It's got clean textures, snappy animations, and a lot of customizability. Overall, this gun is just extremely addicting to use. This one's definitely my favorite SMG mod, and I just had to put it in first place. So that's pretty much all I got for today. If y'all liked the video, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you want to, leave a comment telling me what your favorite SMG mods are. Or even recommend some other mods I could cover in a later video. With all that being said, I'm done for today. See you next time.